here are a couple things that will definitely be useful to know for your first Hyrox event. Now, I'm strictly speaking on singles and open. There are different strategies and content around pro events and doubles, and I don't want to speak on that because they are slightly different races. But for the most part, I think some of these tips may generalize to the different divisions, but for the most part, just open singles is what I'm going to target. So for your first event, you want to just really realize that the overarching goal of a good Hyrox race is maintaining your energy levels well. I think it's probably pretty obvious that you don't want to go off too fast, but we'll get into that. So when we're talking about each of these points, you want to take them with a grain of salt and just understand that your mileage may vary depending on how each of these falls into your race plan. But for the most part, I think it's safe to say the biggest point I would make for most people is manage your energy well over the entire race, because if you're watching this, you're most likely going to spend over an hour, if not an hour 30 to 2 hours in your first event. Now, let's take it event by event. So first thing I would say is before the race, you should take in somewhere between 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrates, preferably simple, probably like an hour to a half hour before the race. I think most people just get super nervous. They want to perform well, understandable, and then they don't eat or they don't eat enough. The event is most likely going to take you over an hour. So you need to make sure you're taking in carbohydrates, because the event is mainly anaerobic in how well you manage your glycogen and ingested carbs over the race. You're basically going to be in a very, very, very high effort pace for most of it. Yes, your aerobic system plays a huge role. That's what you've been training for. So a lot of your cardio is going to rely on recovering in between stations. But when you're pushing the sled, when you're running fast, you're going to be using carbs as a fuel source. So loading up minimum 30, maximum, I mean, you could probably push it pretty high if you've been training high carb. But yeah, getting in like a solid amount of carbohydrates pre-race is a really good idea. And you want to eat as simple carbs as your stomach can handle. I know some people don't like high sugar foods. It causes them to have bad GI symptoms, so don't do it. I myself am as simple as possible. I have a lot of practice with gels and carbohydrate powders, so I really do like them. I think they sit well on my stomach, but I'll have some food beforehand. And depending on the time of day, how much food you've gotten in, how much activity you've had throughout your day. So if you're later in the day, you're probably going to want to eat as normally as possible, eating protein, carbs, and moderate fat. If you're early in the morning, then you're probably going to have to get something simple earlier, so that way those carbs are in your system and in your bloodstream sooner. Getting to the race. So when you're in your corral, they're going to give you a race breakdown of how many laps and how that's going to go. It's pretty self-explanatory once you get the packet pickup. But talking about strategy for the race, no one's winning Hyrox on their first run. You're going to come out too fast. It's your first race. You're going to be excited. The energy's high in the corral. The music's bumping. You are excited because you've been training however many weeks leading up to this event. Don't come out too fast. You want to maintain your energy, as I stated early in the video. This is a big mistake for people because everybody's running super fast out of the corral and you feel like you got to keep up with them. I do wear my watch, not necessarily because of pace, but one big thing to note, your watch will most likely not work for pacing inside the event, because you're most likely doing it in a large event center. So here in Dallas, we do it in the K. Bailey Hutchinson Center. The walls are most likely concrete and like 20, you're just going to have a lot of interference. I don't know how thick they are, but a lot of interference. People are going to have GPS watches around you, and it's going to throw it off. So you need to go based on feel. I would say for this first race, if we're using RPE or level of difficulty, I would say our first run, you want to go with like a 6 or a 7 You know, you can push it if you know your body well enough, maybe an 8 or a 9, but just to get that feel of what it should feel like, you want to maintain some level of composure and not just sprint off. Going back to the watch thing, I do use my watch just to have a good overall time. Managing my heart rate, again, it's not as accurate, but it does help for me to like look down and make sure I'm not at like 180 because I'm over caffeinated and they played my favorite rap song or something. So just keep that in mind. Like, watches can be useful, but they're not going to be as accurate as when you have been in your training. You're going to reach the ski. I would say, having coached a lot of people through ski technique and pacing, not enough using your body to push down and using too much arms. So it basically becomes like this super choppy movement and jerky rather than smooth and pushing through. I can't speak to perfect ski technique for people who go cross-country skiing, but I do know you basically want to do like a ball slam to push your chest, use as much body weight as you can. In terms of the erg dial, I really think it's individual. I think most people are probably going to fall between 5 and 8. I imagine if you were incredibly strong and incredibly practiced with the ski erg, and I mean like very practiced, the 10 might be better to get more power output. But finding that sweet spot where you're managing the good level of power to weight ratio, so that way you are getting very long distances out of each stroke, every single stroke. Yeah, and it's 1,000 meters. Like, don't be afraid of it. Just try to flow with as much power with each stroke as possible. This is most likely going to last anywhere from, people watching this 4 minutes to 5.5 minutes. So just try to be smooth with it. Try to keep and maintain your energy as much as you can, because you are using your arms a lot during this race, more than most people might think. You're gonna come out of that, I would say, run maybe like a 7, 8 out of 10 difficulty. When you get to the sled push, one tip that I like for myself and for others is pushing the sled basically 12.5 meters, depending on how many, like if you have a really long where you only have to go down and back, or down, back, I would say you want to go 12.5, pause like 5 to 6 seconds, go the rest of the way, kind of break it up like that. I do think that it is tempting, if it feels light, to go all the way through, or having push as long as you can, stop, push as long as you can. But I think tipping over the edge can cause too much fatigue with less reward. So I think having a strategy of like pushing it 12.5, pushing it another 12.5, and then during my last race, I just pushed it, the whole length because I felt pretty good. But for the most part, breaking it up with some form of strategy beforehand makes the most sense, so your legs don't just, crash out. Your legs might feel a little wobbly or heavy coming out of this one. It's normal, it's to be expected. It is your third run, so you've already put a little bit of distance on it. Just make sure you do know, like, you will feel your legs because you were just pushing. When you come into the sled pull, biggest thing here is it's very tempting, and I've made this mistake myself, to just want to go arm over arm. There are many ways that people like to manage the rope. I think that if you're going pretty fast, it's kind of chaotic. Some people throw it out of the way. Some people throw it behind them. Just know that you need to know where the rope is. You don't want your feet getting caught up, because you have to stay inside that box and you're going to be walking it back. Second, you want to treat it like a deadlift. People said that to me and I didn't really know what they meant. But when the rope is super long, when you're starting the sled pull, it's going to be pretty far away. So the length of the rope is going to make a difference, because the angle you're pulling at is much lower than when it gets closer to you, it's going to be higher. So you basically have to bring your butt as low as the rope is attached when it's super far, and you basically scoop your butt, and as you walk back, go hand over hand, and then walk back up and do that. Made that mistake during Hyrox Houston this last year, where I was in the pro division, and I was like, yeah, I can hand over hand it, and I wasted so much time. My sled push time was, I don't know, like 3 something, and my sled pull time ended up being like 7.5 minutes because I didn't realize how imperative, when you are not as strong as the weight you're pulling, you really need to get your butt down. And then it just made it so much smoother once I got it. So I think total time pulling the sled can be reduced tremendously if you just get your butt down and then slide it back. You're gonna come out of that. Run's gonna feel the same as the last one, most likely. So same tips apply. Burpee broad jumps. Burpee broad jumps are the first like properly rated of the exercises because they are very hard and you know they're going to be hard. The biggest tip I have with the burpee broad jump is knowing where you're gonna rest. So if you're gonna rest at the bottom, lay on the floor and rest for, half second or catch your breath, whatever that might be, decide that beforehand. Don't be super choppy where you rest, stand up, rest, stand up. Find where you're gonna be the most comfortable. I prefer to rest at the bottom of the burpee for 2 reasons. One, when I go down, I kind of do this like worm flop rather than like staying in a super strict push-up position and then push myself back up. I basically just like flop down and then push myself back up. And then I step into it. And as I take that second step, I take my jump and then I bring my feet back as I jump. Basically, I never stand up fully because when I land, I bring my feet back like almost instantly, and then I can rest at the bottom of the burpee. Some people like to do it at the top. That's perfectly fine. You can breathe a little bit better up there, but you decide. I do recommend that flop, especially as a beginner. I think some people who are really advanced at burpees can maintain a good, like, solid position up and down, but I think that just wastes so much upper body strength, core strength, when you can get like a little bit more relaxed when you flop down and then jumping into the burpee. So basically, as you come up, you step. For me, it's my step my left foot, and as I step my right foot, I get into my jump. Coming out of the burpee broad jumps, you really need to slow it down. So I would say, in terms of your run, probably closer to like a 6 or a 7, maybe a 7 RPE. And I know it's going to be hard because it's like, what is a 7? Basically, your heart rate's going to be stupid high because burpee broad jumps are more of a cardio event than a resistance event. And so like bringing that heart rate down is like the strategy for that 5th run. And depending on your time and your expectations, maybe you walk. But it doesn't necessarily, that's where maintaining your energy is going to be super critical. Fortunately, after that run will be your first time to sit down during the race. And that is when I take a gel. I think people overthink gels for the most part, like which ones they should take, which ones they like. I think taste and texture preferences matter the most. One that I use very often is Go Gels. I just think that the flavor is really good. I like how thin they are. During my most recent race, I used Never Second gels. I really liked how thin those were. Those are a little bit bigger, so logistically speaking, it's hard to carry something that is bigger. The Go Gels are a little bit flatter in their packaging, and they're easier to hold in your pocket. But you can use a Goo, Morton, Honey Stinger. There's really so many options, and it's just going to be based on preference. But I do think taking a gel at this time, this is roughly halfway through the race, and you can sit down, so you're not going to be as nauseous if you were to take something. But I imagine most people would do very well taking a gel at this point in the race. On the rower, big thing is like you kind of want to make it as smooth as possible. A lot of people fatigue with their arms because you've used your arms, a decent amount during the race at this point. Like your grip is going to be tired. And so making sure you're pushing with your legs because they are still more powerful than your arms, and getting a long, clean swoop. I think one mistake people make, and since you're going into your race, if you have enough time to practice with this, when you start trying to go for speed, think about making more powerful strokes rather than choppier strokes to speed up your time. I think that's a big mistake and a lot of wasted energy, especially with the upper body, is people thinking that shorter, choppier strokes are faster in some way. So just watch your pace and know that like your 1,000 meters is going to be a little bit longer. You're going to be kind of sick of the race at this point, but you just got to keep your head on. Another thing with the rower, people are standing like right in front of you, like watching you. Spectators are watching you. So either find a place to look, or you're just gonna have to be comfortable with like looking around to the side. But yeah, people are like watching at this point. They're like right by you. They're watching the whole time, but they're like just looking at you in your stationary place, and that can be unsettling for people who don't feel comfortable in crowds. Coming out of this run, you're probably going to feel pretty good. You probably push this one a little bit because your next event is a farmer's carry, and so you're not going to be using your legs. So you might make up some time. So if you had to decrease your time going out of the burpee broad jumps, this might be a good time to make up, the 20 seconds you may have lost. Going into the farmer's carry, big mistake I see a lot of people make is not using the chalk. If you don't have experience with chalk because you didn't weightlift, CrossFit, gymnastics, you didn't do those things, it can be kind of intimidating. You might just put a little bit on, but like put it on, put a lot of chalk on. A couple reasons for that. Like there's going to be people who have, like there's going to be chalk on the kettlebells, but your hands are going to be sweaty. And then also like, why not use the chalk? Like don't try to prove your grip in that moment. Like you have a long distance to travel with those kettlebells. You might as well hold on to them and just move as smoothly as you can without setting it down. So hold it, keep nice and tight, use a lot of chalk. I say a lot. Just make sure your hands are fully covered because you're gonna be shifting your grip depending on which fingers are stronger for you. Yeah, and then I would say running may feel good. You've got two options basically with the farmer's carry. If you want to go fast and you can run the whole thing and not set them down, obviously that's best case scenario. But if running causes you to set it down and you're taking too long of breaks, remember that's a cost. So either be smooth and slow and not set it down at all, if you can, or run it, be fast, and those breaks have to be very quick. You set it down, flex your hands, pick them back up, and then go. So you can decide what you want to do, but I would say just know that the shifting, the fatigue, you've already rode, you've already sled pulled, you've already skied, you've used your hands a lot. Just be prepared that your fingers and hands are going to be fatigued. Your forearms are going to feel like Popeyes. Just make sure you know that's the case. Coming out of that one, you're going to feel really good. You can push that run decently hard. You're later in the race. Hopefully your gel has kicked in by this point. Lunges. Lunges are going to be the first thing that are underrated for you. You probably do a lot of lunges in training. Maybe you've done a simulation. It's going to be pretty crazy how like your legs are going to shake, especially your adductors, your inner thighs. Don't be afraid. It's going to be like your legs are going to feel like they don't work. Just know that that's normal. You might need to pause. Just try not to drop the bag. The biggest thing is like you can get disqualified if you drop the bag too many times. So don't set it down. You have to lunge over the line, so managing your lunge distance is important. I think most people, because they don't train hitting their knee on the ground, they don't realize like how low you need to go. So when I'm teaching lunges to my clients or my athletes, is I would rather you not lunge super far out, because then you start hitting that hip flexor and your hip flexors can cramp really bad. So thinking about 90 degrees with your front leg and your back leg can help a ton throughout the race. And then just pause when you need to, shake it out. Maybe getting into a system where you do 5 at a time, 10 at a time. It probably spaces out a little bit better. your legs are gonna be trashed coming into that last run, but you gotta send it because it's your last run and all you've got is wall balls. Wall balls are, like, I think, overly ratedly scared. 100 is a lot, don't get me wrong, and it is a big number, but you can't think about it like that. I can't tell you how to hit 100 in a row. I've never seen it done personally. I know that people do it, and I think it's a wonderful strategy. You go watch their videos, go find it, let me know, report back in the comments how they do it. But for the for the wall balls, the most important thing is at this point, like, not resting. You can't rest. Like, you can, but try to rest as little as possible. So when I'm doing it, I like to kind of string together as many as I can before I feel completely burnt out. So it depends on how my energy levels have maintained throughout the race, because you know, my first race I got like 60 in a row, and then in my most recent race I got the first 30. So before I didn't burn all the way out. I just got to the point where, okay, now I feel like if I go any further, I'm gonna start dipping into the well too much, and then break it up from there. I have recommended a strategy of 25-25, and then basically however many you can do, 10, 10, 5, 5, 5. However you need to break it up like that, it's good to have kind of an idea of what it should feel like and how many to do. Now, you may not know which number you're on, but I cannot stress this enough. Like, just kind of have a general idea of where you're at, because depending on your you know, event judge, they might be a little bit off, and then you think you've done 90 and they're like, yeah, you've only done 80. Like, those 10 are going to be pretty annoying. Like, you're going to be pretty pissed at that person because of whatever reason. Yelling at them, fighting with them, that's just wasted energy. Get your butt down. Like, honestly, it's easier in the race if you learn how to bounce your butt off of your heels. So just bounce up, throw it. Bounce up, or bounce down, throw it. Bounce down, throw it. Falling with the ball, not trying to control the descent too much. Like, you want to obviously have control of the ball, but descend nice and, you know, nice, and then bounce up. If you spend too much time down there, you're really going to fatigue your legs and you're going to start cramping. And yeah, and then the eccentric load of it. I think that's where my Olympic lifting background has helped me tremendously, is because you bounce out of a clean, you bounce out of a snatch. Same thing. I bounce out of the wall balls, and then I'm using my stretch reflex rather than my muscular contractions to really help me with that. And then, yeah, just break it up however you need. One last thing, spend as little time in that rock zone as you can. Too many people stop. Like, I'd rather you walk, drink, and throw it away than, and you don't have to sprint out of it, but you got to keep moving. Do not spend a lot of time in the rock zone. So many people just waste so much time there, minutes, and it's not helping. Like, I like to use the sports drink that they have on course, because again, I'm trying to get in as many carbs as I can. So I'll take it, and I take very little drinks. Like, I mean, I get like a mouthful, swallow it, and run, just enough not to throw up, but I'm getting some carbs in. I don't ever stop and catch my breath. I'd rather run slower and keep moving than to stop at all during the rock zone. Do not stop during the rock zone. But maintaining your energy throughout this entire event, having trust that your training has prepared you for this, you will have a time. Whether that's a good or a bad time is completely dependent on you. Whether you have fun or not, you know, I like the event. I like coaching people for it, but it's not for everybody. You know, just give your best effort, maintain your effort, and understand that this is a learning experience during your first one. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and throw it in the comments below. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like, because other people will then find it. And if you know someone who could benefit from it, please share.